balance the two things. Number one, to the extent that he wants publicity, depriving him of it might help us, because it's another thing that tightens that pressure on him. On the other hand, there's a very genuine need, and I say it because I believe it, a genuine need for the public to get this information firsthand and accurate so that you can convey that out. Certainly if there's a feeling among the folks here that we could do it every other day or something like that, we could do that, but it's a good faith attempt on our part to try and give the facts out factually and accurately, and if there's any modifications, we certainly be willing to entertain it. Yeah, in the yellow.
Someone left yesterday by the media point, or last night, in the back of a squad car covered in a blanket. Do you know anything about that?
No, I don't. The question was, is someone left in what kind of a squad car?
I think so. A squad.
Someone, sheriffs? There was a person arrested yesterday.
This is overnight.
Yeah, I don't. Is this possibly the person who? The only one who I know would have been in the car, and I was unaware that he would have been under a blanket, was a guy by the name of Zachary Conn, C-O-N-N, Gordon, a white male, 20 years of age from Waco, who was arrested. That was yesterday afternoon, wasn't that? There's no one else been arrested, and I don't have a clue who that might have been. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Can you give us more information about this incident in which the children were seen being held up to the window while the equipment was moving around the compound? Did you interpret that as being just showing the kids what's going on, or was there something else to it?
The question is, could we give more information about the kids being held up in the windows at the compound? I can see two interpretations. One, kids look at this, the place is being cleared out in front. The other one is in case they anticipate some, either us or someone else coming in there using it for protection. I don't have any way of knowing what the purpose was. It certainly wasn't something that was, in my opinion, in the kids' best interest. If something had happened, holding the kids up as shields in a window is not a great thing to do. If it was just out of curiosity, I don't think that was helpful either, because it certainly raised the anxiety level of everyone as to what could happen. In the back?
Can you tell us any more details, please, about the discussions with Mr. McBean and what he talked about? Any more details about him?
Yeah, he was one of the individuals we just spoke with briefly. The question was, can we give any more information about McBean? All those folks that we mentioned in that list of 4, 5, 6 people, they were fairly short conversations. Are you all right? Do you want to come out? Are you being held in there against your will? All of them said they wanted to stay in there. The 3-year-old, of course, was a conversation like you would normally have with a 3-year-old, but the other one said that they wanted to stay in there. No great details. Sir, in the second row?
Yeah, you say you got a videotape out from them yesterday that showed 16 kids. Did that bear up the statements made over the last few days that conditions are deteriorating for them? What did it show? What kind of shape did the kids seem to be in?
The kids are in there. It's not obvious on the film that it's deteriorating greatly. Some of the kids had recently been cleaned, so that reflects possibly on the water situation. But basically, they seem relatively healthy, although the factual circumstances of what's going on in that compound in terms of water, food, cooped up, it can't be healthy. So I guess what I'm saying is there's a little bit of a contradiction between the appearance and what we know is happening in there. Okay? Yeah.
Do you have any plans when this is finally over and you go in to process the crime scene, because of concerns on either side and the emotions surrounding this issue? Do you have any plans to take an independent observer in there with you, a court-appointed person, something like that?
The question is, when the issue is finally resolved and the compound is processed as a crime scene, do we in ATF have any plans to take an independent observer or a court-appointed person in? The plan as it stands today, and I'm sure that will not change, the crime scene is going to be processed by the Texas Rangers. It's not going to be processed by ATF. For that very reason, we don't want any charges of a lack of impartiality in this issue. So the Rangers will process that crime scene completely. The FBI laboratory is going to be assisting in that processing. There will be some ATF presence there, but they are not the agency of record for the processing of the crime scene. So I think any misgivings that anyone might have on that issue are without foundation. Yes, ma'am.
Are the women inside the compound pregnant? You know?
The question is, are any of the women inside the compound pregnant? We're aware of at least one who, for lack of a better way to put it, she's very pregnant. I mean, she's noticeably pregnant. I can't tell you her name because I'm not aware of it. And there's at least that one. In the back right there with the camp.
Can you enlighten us a little on the generators? Do they have generators that are functioning now? And if they are, what are they operating? Is it refrigerating equipment?
The question is, do they have generators that are operating? And if they are operating, what specifically are they operating? If they're operating, I wouldn't have any way of knowing what specifically inside they're operating. There was a short period of time after the electricity was shut off that we thought the generators went on. Since that, there has not been, and we're only talking less than maybe 20 minutes. So our best information right now is that there are not generators working in there. Sir?
Yes, you mentioned the 16 kids are on the video. There were 17, if I remember, total in there. I wonder if you know which is the missing kid and if that might possibly be the 2-year-old daughter of Koresh that he claimed had been killed in the initial firefight.
Yeah. The question is, do we know if there were 16 children on the video, do we know who the missing child was, and if there's a possibility that was the one from the firefight early on? I frankly don't know who the missing one is. Some of the times the names are given, sometimes the names weren't, and I have no way of kind of checking off on a cross list. Okay? Yeah.
What was how did the conversation with the 3-year-old come about? I mean, did you ask to talk to the child, or did the child just want to talk to somebody on the phone, or how did that come down?
The question is the mechanics of how we wound up talking to a 3-year-old. I was in the process of having a whole bunch of folks get on the phone, and that's pretty much at their discretion who they put on the phone next. The 3-year-old came in and said a few words, and that was about it. There was nothing significant out of that meeting other than seeing him. Ma'am?
You said you talked to David Koresh for a couple of hours yesterday. Does that mean that his health is improving, that he's able to talk for that long and not have any problems?
The question is, since we talked to him for several hours, does that mean his health is improving? He was still doing the grimaces and the sounds indicating that he was in some pain when he would move. When he's still, he doesn't sound like he has any problem. He talks pretty normally. When he moves or twists or anything, you almost inevitably hear some type of a sound coming that indicates some pain that he's in. Okay. Ma'am, over there on the line.
You also said you talked to David Jones yesterday, and I understand it's been reported he's a mailman, and he may have talked to the local media early before the raid and may have been the one who actually tipped the people back in the compound. Can you comment on the discussions that you had with him yesterday?
The questions on Jones, he was one of those people we had a very short conversation with, and it basically was limited to, do you want to come out? Is there anything we can do to help you come out? Are you in there on your own free will? And all of those were met yes. Okay.
Back to the discussions with Koresh and your negotiations, what did he mainly focus on in that 2-hour talk? Was he reciting from the biblical scriptures again, or what was basically the
question? What basically did Koresh focus on during that period of time that we were talking with him yesterday, and specifically did he focus on the biblical studies? Now, we're pretty much preventing that in terms of we're just not a willing audience anymore, so that to the extent that we get into the Bible, it's a momentary thing, and then we get back on the topic. And if I was going to characterize the thrust of that conversation, I'd say us wanting to firm up any plans to come out, and he did deal with it, but again, talk is cheap. Nothing has happened.
Has he said when he's going to make his decision, or if he's still waiting for a word from God?
No, he's still in there for a word from God. Ma'am?